What could be an unstoppable ticket? Very interesting. It's not culture, folks. It's ghetto. Great take on this whole SNAP benefits crap. And New England hikers are lucky to be alive. If you don't know what you're doing, don't go out in those extreme conditions. We'll talk about that coming up. Welcome to the Sheldon Show. It is Wednesday. By the way, since no senator or representative, member of Congress whatsoever, or the chief executive with an executive order can seem to find their way clear to stopping this bullcrap, on Sunday we will set our clocks back. Fall back, spring ahead. Biggest waste of time on the planet. And it screws up my scheduling, okay? That's my biggest problem with it. Can we please stop this putting the clocks back? It's not the 70s anymore, huh? Marilyn, Danny, good morning. You're here. Yes, we love to have you along for the ride. And so I guess we'll still be starting at 10 because I got to stay with the same time, Eastern. And that will mean it'll be 11 o'clock my time. So now I got to start an hour later. Thank you very much, idiots in Congress and idiot president. And I don't say that very often because if I'm not mistaken, he could fix this with an executive order and we'd be rid of it. But no. By the way, I have a horrible echo in here tonight, and I don't know why. That's what we'll work on next. We are live on X and Rumble. Please give us a follow if you're a first-time viewer to the program and you haven't followed us yet. We also do a show called The After Hours, behind-the-scenes stuff, crap we don't talk about on our main show here live. It is for members only, and it is at our Locals channel, which is that red button that says Join on Rumble down there. And on X, it's in the show notes. At the top of the show notes says Join our Locals channel. Join over there. Yes, it's subscription-based, but it's like $5 a month. It's cheap as hell. And even if you never use or watch any of the programming over there, you're helping to support the show, which would be fantastic. You can sign up for a $5 a month subscription, or you can give a one-time donation, $10, $20, $50, $100. We'd love you for that. All right. An unstoppable combination, and I think they might just be right. Trump, fresh off of brokering this historic peace deal between Cambodia and Thailand. The border clashes saved countless lives. He was sharing his thoughts on Air Force One. Poll numbers soaring higher than ever. Seriously, through the roof. Boasting unprecedented support. Resolving 8 global conflicts. Eyeing a 9th in Russia, Ukraine. He floated the idea, listen to this, of a 2028 ticket of Vice President J.D. Vance, who I think would be a shoo-in, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, which, man, that ain't a bad combo. It really isn't. When you think about it, that is not bad at all. He says, I'm sure if anybody would run against those two, I'm not sure, it would be unstoppable. Likely true. But think about what that means for you, me, the Republic. In a time when established elites have all but taken away most of our liberties, Trump's vision is spotlighting patriots like Vance, Rubio. They embody the kind of grit, the kind of resolve it takes to dismantle the deep state and restore every bit of greatness this country once had, which it is slowly clawing its way back to the top to get there. But imagine with Vance and Rubio at the helm. Man, I can't think of much better. This treaty they signed here in Kuala Lumpur, applause from world leaders, bold action always trumps democracy, pun intended. Could be the dynasty that secures our freedom for generations. And frankly, I'm all for it. Hell, I'd give Trump a third term since they stole one from him, but that's just not going to happen, of course. And honestly, at the end of the day, it probably shouldn't. But man, J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, that would be what you call a dream team. Abso-freaking-lutely. Yep. A fellow over on Newsmax, interesting news outlet, by the way, Rob Finnerty is his name, and he just said what mainly nobody in the media is going to admit about SNAP. You know what I just realized I don't know? I don't know what SNAP, that acronym for the SNAP program, basically food stamps, I don't know what that stands for. If anybody knows, put it in the chat. He tore the mask off the entire food stamps program. And what he revealed should piss you off if you are a taxpayer. No doubt about that. It is far worse than anybody realized. 42 million people in this country that need food stamps on a weekly basis. 42 million. Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, SNAP. Thank you, Danny. And we're saying people that need the help deliberately instead of Americans. And you want to know why? You can guess. Yep. Most of the people of those 42 million on food stamps are not from this country. Color me shocked. 45% of Afghanistan immigrants are on food stamps. 42% of Somali immigrants are on food stamps. 34% of every immigrant from Iraq. 23% of Haitians. 59%, way more than half of all illegal aliens coming into this country illegally are collecting food stamps. Most of the people getting food stamps from the U.S. government and you and me taxpayers are not even American. How's that sit in your craw? Think about it. And before the government shutdown started, we didn't know any of this. Now, thanks to Democrats, we can confirm that millions of the Joe Biden administration illegal aliens, people who crossed the border when Biden was president, are now collecting food stamps from a program funded by you and I, hardworking American taxpayers. 59%. Exactly what is your fair share of what somebody else worked for? Riddle me that. Unfreaking 59%. SNAP eligibility apparently is tied to legal residency or citizenship, not immigration status. And a lot of claims like that misrepresent how the actual program functions. It does have one of the lowest fraud rates in federal aid. Of any federal aid program, this has one of the lowest fraud rates. 1.5%, according to USDA audits. Denny says, my friend is a single mother and is on this. She barely gets anything and not flipping out over her benefits not coming in. She said it'll be rough, but she's grateful to even have them. People need to be grateful that they even get them like she is. And, you know, I hope a majority of these people who are getting them are grateful. And funny you should say that, because as it turns out, my next one is about exactly that. My X timeline has been filled to the brim with these people complaining, threatening to go into the grocery stores, fill up their carts, and then just leave and steal the food. Even to the point of threatening when you come out of the grocery store with your groceries, they're going to steal them from you. Which, you know, in open carry states, that's probably not going to go over too well, if you know what I mean. American Papa Bear over on X, great account. Give it a follow. Americans of every color, black, white, brown, yellow, everything in between, are getting absolutely fed up and sick and tired of this ghetto behavior. It isn't about race. It's not about black and white. This is about having some standards, having some morals. Being loud and obnoxious isn't a personality type. It shows an absolute lack of self-control and lack of discipline. And that's exactly what you're demonstrating for the entire world. It's not culture, this woman says, and I will play you this tape in a minute. It's brilliant. It's not culture, she says, it's ghetto. Giant green eyelashes make you look like a caricature. Right, Jasmine Crockett? This woman nails it. Boy, does she nail it. Right on the head. Give a listen to what she's got to say.
Americans of every color are fed up with ghetto behavior. It's not about race, it's about standards. Wearing bonnets, pajama pants, and house shoes in public, looking like you rolled out of bed, isn't a fashion statement. It's ghetto. People fighting on cruise ships, in restaurants, at airports. It's embarrassing, not entertaining. It's ghetto. Yelling on speakerphone in public spaces, screaming across aisles, cursing in front of kids. Being loud isn't a personality. It's a lack of discipline. It's ghetto. Bellies hanging out, tight shorts, 2 sizes too small, sagging pants, ski mask in summer. It's not edgy. It's exhausting. It's ghetto. Blasting obnoxious music in public spaces. Parking lots, gas station, grocery stores, with the whole crew gathered around like it's a block party. That is not culture. That is ghetto. Those giant plastic winged eyelashes doesn't make you look good. They make you look like a caricature.
Did I tell you? People are waking up. I am seeing more posts like this from people of all races who have had it. They are calling out these criminal minds for exactly what they are. And thank God I'm seeing more now. Maybe it's the algorithm playing with me, but I'm seeing more of those kind of videos than I am of the ones where people are on there with their big eyelashes and their well-done nails and their expensive handbags that complain about not having any SNAP benefits and how they're going to just go in and steal it from the store or steal it from you. Thank God we've got people like that willing to stand up and call it what it is. In the case of the Democrats willing to stand up against something absurd, well, they just now might be realizing in the case of Mamdani in New York City, it's too late. And it could be time to panic. You think? Man, Shevitz, these people are so stupid. It might have begun even before President Trump arrived on the whole political stage. But Trump's election and then re-election brought forth front and center the side of Democrats from just being left-wingers to being straight-up socialists. No doubt about it. And they continue to champion issues and candidates that the American people told them last November they have no interest in. We don't want that crap here. And the Democrats? Under a week to go, folks, in the New York City mayoral race. And this is some scary crap. There are a handful of Democrats starting to figure out that this could be a big mistake. And maybe you should have spoken up just a little bit sooner, Democrats. A handful of Democrats, we dare call them sensible, because they're beginning to sweat over the possibility that self-proclaimed Democrat socialist Zohran Mamdani seems all but certain to become the next mayor of the Big Apple. And my friends, that should scare the living hell out of you. And by the way, when it comes to the Big Apple, he will have access to, by the way, all of the defense plans against terrorism for that city. Not nationally, not federally. Well, think about that. Fernand Armandi, longtime Democrat, said, "It's one thing for Republicans to use absurd attacks calling Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi socialists to scare voters. It's another thing to use an actual socialist to scare voters about the Democrat Party being about socialism." And that's what's concerning about Mamdani. Josh Galtmeyer, New Jersey Democrat, said Mamdani holds extremist views which are not the views of the Democratic Party as a whole. Could have fooled us. He went on to say he fears Republicans will morph Mamdani into a boogeyman. Well, that would be probably closer to the truth. 2026 campaign commercials are just pretty much going to write themselves, my friends. If we're focused on playing defense on Mamdani, that'll be a major distraction. But some of those sweaty Democrats are doing what they always do. Every single time, of course, they're playing word games. It's what they do. Representative Tom Suozzo from New York running cover for Mamdani, calling him a Democrat capitalist, not a Democrat socialist. He was sure to add that socialism is a failed economic system. It has never worked in the history of the world. And that's not something we endorse or support. Representative Laura Gillen from New York says she disagrees with many of Mamdani's ideas, called for her fellow Democrats to declare, "We are not socialists." Then why are you supporting one, morons? In this bizarro world where John Fetterman from Pennsylvania, the senator there, Democrat, has been honestly the voice of reason throughout all this crap. Turns out HBO host Bill Maher, speaking some common sense, he recently made a statement that those Democrats not on board the Mamdani bandwagon know in their hearts are true. He said, I think the whole Democratic Party in this country is on the ballot, and the whole country will be looking at this race to see which way the Democrats are going to go. National Republican Congressional Committee Chair, or spokesman rather, Mike Marinella, said the instincts of those doubting Democrats are spot on. The so-called leader, Hakeem Idiot Jeffries, signed a deal with the socialist devil, and now every House Democrat is dragging the anvil of radical socialism into 2026. It is a albatross around your neck, Democrats, and you are not going to get rid of it. He offered the socialist, which is another word for communist, fairy tale of taxing richer, whiter neighborhoods, free everything, and has stated that billionaires should not exist. But he also got caught in quite a whopper. I don't know if you saw this one. This story about the aunt who after 9/11 was afraid to ride the subway because she was wearing a hijab, the head covering. Well, part of that story is absolute bullcrap. This aunt in question is actually a now deceased cousin. She's dead. And what else is he lying about? With a week to go, Mamdani is polling 43.8%. Former Governor Cuomo, 33.6%, and Curtis Sliwa, a distant 10.8%, which is a shame, because Curtis would be a brilliant mayor. Democrats, they picked a fine time to panic. Now's not the time, pal. You might be just a little bit too late for that. Unbelievable, these people. Where else are we going here? Let's see what we got. Okay. Oh, man. Oh, I know what we got to tell you about. We got to talk about where you get your cell phone service. Are you using Patriot Mobile? Or is some of that money you pay in your bill every month going to causes that support like DEI, abortion rights, the left? Please don't do that. My friends over at Patriot Mobile want to get you signed up and let you know they are a Christian conservative mobile network that does everything they can to support our right to life, First and Second Amendment. Patriot Mobile, check them out.
When you choose Patriot Mobile, you're not just picking a wireless provider. You're choosing a company that shares your values. It's easy to switch, and you can keep your number, your phone, and most importantly, your values. With Patriot Mobile, you get the power of nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks. That means wherever life takes you, we've got you covered on the same reliable networks you already know and trust. And when you need us, we're here for you right here at home. Our customer service is 100% US-based because we believe that support should come from people who understand you and your values. At Patriot Mobile, you're not just another call, you're a priority. In today's world, where you spend your money matters more than ever. Every dollar is a vote for the kind of future you want to build. Join the thousands of Americans making a difference with every call, every text, and every connection. Choose a company that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Yes, patriotmobile.com/J. That is the connection that will get you a free month when you get signed up there. It's easy to switch. Their customer service folks are fantastic. They're there to help you get into a plan which fits your needs, and they are a Christian conservative company. No money from their profits goes to the left. They help to support the causes you and I believe in, which is why it's so important to get with these folks and get signed up. If you're currently under a contract, you think you can't get out of it, they do have some plans there, so work with customer service. Very helpful, very friendly, 100% U.S. customer-based with their service department. Get yourself signed up today, and your first month is on me. It's free at Patriot Mobile. Your first month is free. PatriotMobile.com/J. Oh, yeah. Help to support a company that not only supports this show, but supports all the things that you and I believe in. Like the fact that climate change is bullcrap. Climate catastrophism. There's a big word for you. Had to look that one up. Apparently, it's gone down in flames. Last week might actually be recorded as the moment and climate narrative finally cracked. Climate parlance, a tipping point occurred. In the space of just a few days, two events reached millions of people outside the usual scientific and media gatekeeping apparatus, where they won't tell you the truth about climate. And both of them told the same story. Science of climate catastrophe is not nearly as settled or as dire as we've been led to believe. First, Joe Rogan, the world's most popular podcast, inarguably, hosted two of the most respected dissenting climate scientists alive, Dr. Stephen Lindzon from MIT and Dr. William Harper from Princeton, for a long-form conversation about what is the actual evidence behind global warming, or is it all just bullcrap? The second event came from inside the climate establishment itself. Ted Nordhaus, who is founder of Breaking Institute, a self-described climate activist at one time, published an essay called Why I Stopped Being a Climate Catastrophist. And each, in its own way, expose that huge divide between scientific nuance and absolute political narrative. In other words, garbage. Both of them together possibly created a big turning point in what most of the public understands about the BS that is climate change. Now, first of all, exposing the gulf between the science nuance and political narrative. For years, I hate to even use the word mainstream media because they're no longer mainstream. They're like nothing. But there are still a few morons who only get their news from CNN or ABC, NBC, CBS. But these gatekeepers who make sure you do not know the truth, and anyone who questions climate change is dismissed as a hoax, that tactic doesn't work when Joe Rogan, whose audience makes CNNs look like this small, it really does, sits across the table from two emeritus professors, the bigwigs, and calmly explains why CO2, carbon dioxide, is not the planetary thermostat that everybody says it is. They have impeccable credentials, never to be beat. They're not bloggers. They're not influencers. They are physicists who spend decades inside the world's top research institutes, Princeton and MIT. You don't get much better than that. Their message was very simple. The climate system is complex. The claim that we can fine-tune global temperature with carbon taxes and wind turbines is absolute fantasy. That's their words, not mine. Harper recounted how even in the 90s, climate scientists were the only ones reluctant to defend their work in person. Maybe sensing their models were hollow, useless, completely just so much windbag garbage. And Lindzen reminded listeners that the warming so far is only modest, that extreme weather trends show no alarming increases, and that the benefits of CO2 fertilization for global agriculture, the benefits are real. Within 24 hours, that episode of Rogan had nearly 24 million views. Thousands of comments cheering on the guests for finally speaking the truth. And just as Rogan's episode was trending, Ted Norhaus drops his own intellectual bombshell. 7,000-word essay on the Breakthrough Journal site reads like a confession, perhaps the most important one the climate movement has ever seen. He writes, "I no longer believe in this hyperbole," reflecting on his earlier predictions that fossil fuel use would trigger wars and collapse the Amazon rainforest. He now acknowledges that the business as usual scenarios of 5 degrees warming by 2100 were never plausible. They assumed absurdly high population growth, unrealistic economics, slow technological progress. The best current estimates, he says, are closer to 3 degrees or less, not 5. They're both criticizing the same thing, and that is the climate claptrap that you and I have been fed over the last however many years it's been. Absolutely insane. Danny, isn't it sad all their supposed fixes cause more harm than good? Boy, that's true. Those ridiculous windmills, the batteries in cars, so much more, and you can't get rid of them because you just cause more damage. Have you seen those cemeteries where they put those big blades for the windmills? Disgusting. And killing our wildlife, as Marilyn adds. You're right. You're absolutely right. Gavin Newsom. What? Yeah. He's back in the news again because of a prostitution law. This one, my friends, you will not believe. This new prostitution law from Newsom creates a new sex market in LA. It's called the Pimp Shield Law, pushed by Democrat regulator Scott Wiener, great name, helped foster a disturbing new sex market on Figueroa Street in LA, featuring prostitutes, wait for it, as young as 12 and 13 years old. For far too long, this street has been known as Kiddie Stroll. It's been unreported because major media news outlets won't cover it. They won't mention it. And it has just sat there under Democrat politicians and absolutely flourished. But it is time to shine a light into that particular darkness. Pastime. Expose the truth about what is happening to these poor, young, very young girls, and why nothing has been done to keep this horror, this evil, to bring it to an end. New York Times Magazine finally covering this horrific scene in LA. They've conveniently neglected to cover, among anything concerning the prostitution law that Newsom's admin passed. 77th Street Division, which covers the northern half of the Figueroa corridor, prostitution has always been a problem. But in recent years, the officers have seen the magnitude of child sex trafficking explode, according to the reporter at the Times. Gangs that had long sold drugs are now beginning to take advantage of Figueroa's lucrative opportunity. 12 girls, 12. One trafficker with 12 little girls could easily make $12,000 a night. Not a month, not a week, every single night. $12,000. Drugs sold one time, gone forever. Girls resell them indefinitely. Motel owners, noticing this parade of customers, but feared the gangs, so they kept quiet. Much of this fear, much of the silence, gang retaliation, so people won't speak out. Democrats in the state slashed funding for police and tied officers' hands, making it a lot harder to pull these girls, most of whom are children, out of sex trafficking. Because of budget cuts, because of defunding the police. Children are suffering in ways I do not even want to repeat on this show. Too sick, too twisted to even imagine. Anti-cop policies radical leftists have put into place, trying to appease minorities for votes. Leaders ignoring the problem instead of actually stepping up and doing something about it. And still to this day, nothing has been done. 12 and 13-year-old girls and boys on the street prostituting themselves under the watchful eye of their pimp. Democrats, I'm telling you, wake up, look around you. This is going to come bite you square on the ass. Children suffering abuse for money at the hands of twisted perverts. Voters enable it, supporting politicians who just don't give a crap about our kids and our values. When are you going to wake up? The blood of these children is on your hands, just as much as they are on Newsom's hands. And until you stand up and speak up and do something about it, it isn't going to stop. The scariest part of all, it isn't going to stop. New England. I was born and raised and grew up in New England. I lived in Connecticut. New England consists of, I'll get this right, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine. There, I did it. If you live in those states, the great outdoors truly is remarkable. I grew up in a very, very rural area. But a group of New England hikers are damned lucky to be alive. And frankly, it's because they were idiots. Don't be an idiot. As Dan Bongino used to love to say on his show, the number one rule, don't get dead. Wandering into the wild, a certain amount of respect is in order. It takes a lot of chutzpah, little bravery, take off into the wild places. They are beautiful. They are absolutely wonderful to visit. And the downside is it can kill you very quickly, especially in the colder parts of the year. Most years, it seems, someone gets into the wild, they're completely unprepared, and some of them live to regret it, some of them don't. In New Hampshire, just recently, no less than 20 people wandered out into the summit of Mount Washington, a very nasty place for weather. If you know Mount Washington, you know what I'm talking about. They wound up having to get rescued after getting stuck in the wilderness. So now you're putting other people's lives in jeopardy. More than 20 ill-prepared hikers rescued from the summit of Mount Washington in New Hampshire when they got stuck in whiteout conditions. You may not have any snow yet where you live because it's just a little bit early in the season. But trust me, on the top of Mount Washington, I doubt the snow ever goes away. They'd reached the mountain's summit, which is at 6,288 feet. Most had no idea there would be any service. There would be no services on top of the summit. There's nobody up there with a cup of hot cocoa and marshmallows waiting to welcome you. There's nothing up there except wind and snow and ice. The state park at this time of year was closed. Andy Villain, assistant manager for the Mount Washington Cog Railway, said, "The summit is halfway. A lot of hypothermic cases, and without any gear or preparations for that kind of weather, you're not going to last very long." A lot of the hikers admitted it was their first hike. Well, what? Duh! Mount Washington is New England's highest peak. Like I said, it is always snowing and icing up there. It is known as the home of the world's worst weather. That should tell you something. Oh, man. Look, if you're going to do it anyway, be stupid about it, then you get what you deserve. I'm sorry. You'll get no sympathy from me. But if you're going to try and you have a little bit of experience, fine. Dress for the worst possible weather you could imagine, because you'll likely find it. Carry some way to start a fire. Match safe with waterproof match. Butane torch lighter, something like that. Even in summer at high altitudes, it can be extremely cold, and when it rains, you're walking right into a case of hypothermia, folks, if you're not prepared. You've got to be prepared for this stuff. Enjoy the outdoors, get out there, love it, but for God's sakes, be ready for it. Man. All right. What? They want to tax your smartphone? What the hell are you talking about? Oh, yeah. Article from Red State. You ready? Sit down. The left wants to tax your smartphone. Sin taxes. You know, sin taxes. They have always been a bad idea. There has never been a good one. Not the government's place to try and manipulate or regulate your behavior, unless it's causing harm to somebody else. It's not the government's place to wag their tail at us for eating too much bacon, smoking the occasional cigar, enjoying a good snort of whiskey. But there are always those in and out of government, mostly, commonly, not exclusively, but mostly on the left, who use that power of taxation to regulate our behavior. Which brings us to the excessive use of cell phones. Puzzling, sure. You travel across the country, stop off at a breakfast restaurant for a bite, appears across the table to be some father with 3 teenage daughters, came in, sat down, took out their phones, and sat there like this through the whole meal. Never even looked at each other. You know the kind. Should the government tax that kind of behavior? Bloomberg's Matthew Yagellus thinks it should. And that is a dumb idea. Americans are reading less, sleeping less, partying less. We have fewer marriages, fewer children, fewer friends than we used to. You see where we're going here? Our children doing worse in school. And of course, all those things are correct. Those are the facts. Fewer marriages, fewer children. The overuse of the internet and a few nibbling at the edge ideas. But Mr. Yaglasis proposed a solution that triggers the way stupid button. He writes, there's a need to go broader, especially in a world of growing fiscal deficits. Why not tax policy that discourages the all-you-can-stream ad-supported business model? How about a tax on digital advertising? Subscription-based models work for content people are proud to consume, while ad-supported ones reward quantity over quality. First of all, it is not the government's job to protect you and I from this. That is not their job. Sit down and go away. You could make a case, I suppose, for taxing tobacco, known risks to health. You could make a case maybe for even taxing booze on the odds of excessive consumption. I don't pretty much in general favor taxes, as most people don't. But at least there's an argument for them. But cell phone use? Taxing that? What possible argument could you make? And the purpose of taxation should be to raise revenue for essential government purposes. That's the bottom line. Not to alter somebody's behavior. And yet that's exactly what it's been used for years, decades, time and time again. Taxing your cell phone use. What are they coming for next? Manischewitz. I got one more for you. And this links back to something I mentioned a while ago. I don't know if I talked about it on the after hours or on the live show here. Bigfoot. No, that's not what we're talking about, but I want to start there. sightings of Bigfoot. I honestly believe that somewhere out there in that vast wilderness of the Northwest, there is likely some sort of creature that is a Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call it. I truly believe that. If you've ever seen footage of what the country out there looks like, it is no wonder that we rarely, if never, see them. And I've often said, if the government or maybe some private, hello, Elon, if some wealthy individual or the government really wanted to know, they would take up planes with thermal imaging cameras and scan a grid across as much of that vast wilderness up there as you could possibly cover. And I promise you, you would find something. But no one has done that. Well, to show you that this technology exists, which of course you know what thermal cameras look like, and to show you exactly how good they can be, a 3-year-old boy was lost in a cornfield at night in Alto, Wisconsin. And this is not one of your friendly backyard farmers' cornfields. This was a huge, multi-acre commercial cornfield. How this 3-year-old boy got out there and lost, I do not know. It doesn't say. But they took to the air with a chopper, I believe, and a thermal imaging camera, and they found him. Yep. Deputies and fire department personnel located the child within 15 minutes of using the drone. 15 minutes. Take a look, and at some point about when they get closer to the boy, you're going to see the screen split, and below is the body cam footage, and above is the thermal camera. Take a look at this. This is incredible. Look at how big that cornfield is. Now watch as the camera scans down. Look at that. There he is. They found him, 3 years old, wandering through that cornfield. Once they located him, let the ground units know. Then they came along, started to close in on the location. Camera swinging back up. There's a rescuer. Look at that. I'm assuming they don't have the audio of the radio, but I'm assuming there's the body camera footage. Look how he is hidden down there. Here they come. That is amazing. Look at that. And there he is. Wow. We got him. That's incredible. What an incredible use of technology. Man. Okay, so let me go back to what I said in the beginning. Why aren't we looking for Bigfoot with this technology? We got it. It would take some money, so either the government, our tax dollars, I'll pay some of my tax dollars for that. Or maybe Elon, if you're listening, although somehow I highly doubt you are, but just in case word gets back to you, anybody got his phone number or email? You could be a hero all over again if you just go find Bigfoot. Why not? Somebody's got to do it. I would be sobbing if I were his mom. I'm almost sobbing now. I think you're right. I think you're right. Incredible. What a rescue. Okay, folks, that's it. We're done. Thank you so much for popping by. We have got a follow button down there, and of course over on X. Be sure you hit that if you haven't done it already. Join our locals from exclusive behind-the-scenes, not done live on the air footage and stuff we talk about there. We got about 5 or 6 episodes so far, I think. And it's all like $5 a month subscription. The most important part is you're helping to support this show, which we really, truly appreciate. Every penny of that goes to support the show and pay my bills around putting this show on. So thank you for that. All right. Follow, like, subscribe, all that stuff. We also have our show up on YouTube afterwards in a VOD version. So you can check us out over there on YouTube if you want. Subscribe over there. And we're done. We're all cooked up for a Wednesday edition. Let's do it all again tomorrow, shall we? I'll see you at 10.